So first of all, thank you very much for having us today. We're super I was saying that it's maybe one of the first conferences that we have the opportunity to do post-COVID. So we're very happy to be in Sofia and on such an important topic and starting with a kind of huge question, really. I would say it's the complexity comes from a mix of the scale, because like the amount of content is really massive. So scale is one challenge, and the other challenge is the complexity of what we're talking about. As moderation, and I guess we will develop further on, it's kind of not the same when you're talking about illegal content, when you're talking about misinformation, disinformation, harmful content. And really the approach to all these kind of contents is and should be totally different. But sometimes you have kind of gray areas, which makes it complex. That being said, and I will already kind of answer one of the questions that have been raised here. We often have this feedback that, okay, guys, maybe your moderations are good in English or French, but in smaller languages, it's not necessarily the case. Well, let me put it very clearly that we do have audits, regular audits about our enforcement, including about whether like the different languages are treated the same way, and the reality is that it is treated the same way. And we do have like all around the globe 15,000 content moderators, including Bulgarian content moderators, that do have the cultural knowledge, background, and of course the language, to allow them to moderate the content. Then, of course, it's not only about moderators; it's also about AI. That is increasingly important in the way we moderate content, and this is really a big difference with time. But yeah, I already wanted to kind of put it on the table that it is our intention, and it is confirmed with all the work that we do, that the quality of moderation is not different between one language to another. When we talk about content management, as I already said, it's really important to differentiate the different kind of content we're talking about. First, you have the content that is illegal, and this content obviously should not be on our platform, and in line with the e-commerce directive and in line with the DSA, as soon as it's being reported to us, this is a content that should be taken down or geo-blocked. That's illegal content. That's rather straightforward. Of course, sometimes we can agree on whether it is illegal or not, but as soon as there is a court order, it becomes illegal and basta. That's one thing. Second thing, you have the harmful content. So all the kind of content that is legal, but that we still do not want to have on our platform. Hate speech, bullying, pornography, you name it, like the kind of content that we as a platform have decided is harmful for our users. And as we want our users to remain safe on our platform, we remove this kind of content. Now, how it works? Actually, it's a mix of reporting. So users reporting stuff, and then we analyze the content, and we check about whether it is indeed in breach of our community standards or not. And of kind of proactive AI, where we search proactively for harmful contents that we believe should not be on the platform. Then, of course, the enforcement is super important, as you can have the best policies in the world. If you don't enforce them properly, it doesn't work. And on that, I really want to emphasize, like, as I said, we have like 15,000 reviewers. To that, we have really increasingly powerful AI tools. But really on enforcement, it is also important to understand that all our reviewers are super properly trained. That it's not like they're trained one time. The kind of retrainings are ongoing. There are ongoing audits of the different teams to check in the different languages, in the different regions, about whether the quality remains in the level where it should be. So this is about the harmful content. And then we're going into misinformation and disinformation. So just to make it super clear, misinformation is just content that is assessed, possibly not true. And I'll come back to that. Disinformation is not about the content, it's about the behavior. Disinformation is about people who wants to use our tools in a bad way to mislead our users. And this is where we do take action to find these groups and to remove the fake accounts or whatever we have to remove to indeed avoid our users to be misled by these guys. Unfortunately, the reality of a human being is that in whatever tool you create, you will always have kind of bad guys who will try to mislead the tool for their own purposes. And our role, and here, like at some point Zuckerberg said, we are in the middle of an arms race. And this is true. Our role is to find the bad guys to the extent possible in a proactive way and to avoid them from misleading our users. And to that, we do have dedicated teams. We also, and I want to insist on that, we also approach it in a super transparent way. We do have regular reports on our CIB operations and not the networks that have been reported. This is also something on which we do kind of cooperate with entities on the ground. Because the reality is that sometimes our teams don't see anything, like sometimes our teams don't have the full picture, and then it kind of goes both ways with regards to the exchange of information. So this is also something that does exist. So that's about CIB. Now, CIB and disinformation. Now about misinformation. I guess that the starting point of our way of thinking is that it's not up to Meta, like a private American company, to decide what is true or what is not true. And I think that we'll all agree on that. That being said, I mean, we fully understand like our responsibility and all the challenges related to misinformation. And hence our approach is to enter into partnerships with local fact checkers that will kind of do the job. I will enter into more details about what I mean when I say do the job. Now, before that, it is extremely important for us to kind of choose the partners properly, because it is it's a huge responsibility to fact check in a country on Facebook about what is or what is not true. And this is why we do enter into partnership only with entities who have this ISCN certificate, which is a kind of an international fact checker certificate that gives us that makes us sure enough that the partner that we will partner with indeed has the resources, the knowledge, the know-how to do the work properly. And I think that you guys just had this certificate, by the way. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
For the time being, in Bulgaria, we've been partnering with the local office of Agence France Presse, but maybe in the future we'll have the opportunity to work together too. So that's how we use the fact checker. Now, what is it that the fact checker does really on our platform? First of all, it is the fact checker that will decide what content will be fact-checked, right? Of course, we send them some signals and some list of content that we may assess that may be based on our signal as fact, but it is the fact-checker that decides what content they will fact-check. And then they do the assessment. And if they decide that a content is or should be indeed assessed as fake news, then first of all, it is clearly labeled on the platform that the content is fake. Then, most importantly, it is downrated in the newsfeed to up to 80% for our users not to have access or have a much lower access to that content. And we also inform the users that still want to share the content, like, guys, are you sure you want to share it? This has been assessed as fact check. And this assessment is not only an assessment, there's really a whole article being done by the fact checker about why it's being assessed as fact check, as fake news. And it is really an important aspect, because I do believe that just telling people this is true, this is not true, it doesn't work. We really have to, I mean, the education aspect is absolutely crucial in this battle. And it's like with the policies, with all the tools that we have, if we don't have at some point literacy and education, if we don't inspire our users to kind of, each of us become some sort of fact checkers and have this reflex of checking the main things about the things that they read, I'm afraid that this battle won't be won. And that's why I'm super happy we had this partnership together and made this campaign about media literacy in Bulgaria a few weeks ago, actually. So yeah, that's really about the different kind of contents. And as you can see, the approach is also extremely different. I really think that our community standards, coming back to what is allowed and what is not allowed, are already pretty detailed. And to some extent, I guess, who in this room already read our community standards from A to Z? Okay, that's still not bad. That's still not bad. I guess that like 99% of our users never read this, exactly. Right? Yeah. And here we're back, and this is for us, this is a challenge, because on the one hand, we will have stakeholders saying, yeah, but you should be more precise. So we will put our community standards the more detailed way, but then no one will read it. And still, I believe it's our responsibility to, then therefore maybe make campaigns, education campaigns for people to be at least empowered and at least inspired to go there and to better understand about our community standards and also about how we operate with regards to blocked profiles or pages. I mean, it is clearly said that if in a repeated way someone goes against our community standards several times, then we do have the right to block this page. It is clearly said that if someone is using a Facebook with a kind of a fake account, then we do have the right to block this page. So it's not like we're trying to take someone without explaining the things. That being said, as we're talking about blocked accounts, it is also a reality that we are not perfect in our enforcement, and we do mistakes. It does happen, and hence, and we're back to DSA here. We do have appeal channels in line with the regulations that will come. These appeal channels. We will have more restrictions with regard to these appeal channels, and this is also something that is super important to us. But with regards to our community standards, I really think that there is a lot already there said. Then maybe there needs to be more kind of inspiration of the users to really discover the community standards and better understand what is and what is not allowed on Facebook. I guess it's a fair point that, our communication is not always 100% right. And as I said, transparency is a journey, and we are on the journey, but we didn't arrive. That's clearly the case. The reality is that we cannot be too transparent in communicating our community standards, because if we were, then people would find ways to kind of bypass them. That's also part of the game, unfortunately. And so this is also something that we do have to take into account in the way we communicate about these specific cases. The reality is that in some countries we are mainly accused of removing too much, and in some other countries we are mainly accused of not removing enough. Yeah. Which sometimes makes me thinking that we are in the right position, but that's another story. But to your point, we do have a very important human rights team that does assess about whether some content takedown request, even if legally justified in a country, is in line or not in line with human rights. And this is something that we definitely take into account when taking decisions. And I guess it's fair to say that we don't necessarily approach takedown requests from democratic countries than from clearly non-democratic countries. That's part of our assessing process. First of all, at European level, we have different kind of regulations for different kind of contents. again, let's not mix. DSA is really not necessarily about misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah.
DSA is mainly about illegal content, a bit about harmful content, but this is not the tool that will really solve the issues with regards to misinformation and disinformation. Let's make it super clear. For misinformation and disinformation, we do have the code of conduct. We signed the second kind of version of the code a few months ago. We were already the signatories of the first version in 2018, and I guess that this is really our commitment to fight with this problem in a way, I mean, hand in hand with other stakeholders. I guess that the main message with regards to the code of conduct on misinformation is that this is not something that the platforms will kind of find a solution on their own. This is not something that the European Commission will find a solution on its own. This is not something on which academics or NGOs will find. It's really by working hand in hand that we will be more kind of powerful. Now, with regards to the tools, again, it's about dealing with like more transparency on the one hand and trying to empower the users to the extent possible. But it's all related to, with regards to misinformation, it's all related really to a large extent to education. It's but it's important really not to mix the different kind of regulations and the different kind of content again. Now for data. Well, please do not expect me to share some data with you right now. That being said, I mean, we do have all sorts of programs with academics, especially. Let's talk about what kind of cooperation can exist. We do work with universities all around the world, so this is something that that we definitely can discuss about, and for the way we communicate with regulators and administrations. Of course, there are streams. Of course, there are communication streams, especially in crisis times. We really want to, and the war in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine is a good example where I think it was of key importance for us to also take our responsibilities from this perspective and keep our users safe and well informed to the extent possible. And again, it's not something that we do on our own. It's something that we can do working with others, including administrations. I think that when we're talking about the responsibility of the users, if in the context of kind of cooperation between media, platforms, NGOs and stuff, I think going back to education is important. And here when I'm talking about education, it's also about creating scale in education. I mean, we've done this campaign together with you in Bulgaria. It's quite a big campaign. I still believe it's only a drop in the ocean of needs, right? And if we want to do more, I guess that we would have to do it in bigger coalitions, maybe also onboarding media, maybe doing not only online campaign, but also offline campaign, like with other media, hand in hand with other media, so that really the message on how to behave online is heard loud and clear by an as large audience as possible. But again, to that, there's really a need to have huge coalitions. We're ready to play our role in that, but we're not the only player.